Hey everyone, all you ukulele players out there. As you might have guessed from that brief little moment there that I'm going to talk about humidification today. It's always a topic of discussion in the groups, and should you humidify or not? How should you humidify? So I thought I'd put together a little video that talked about some different options. Here in the beginning I have a room humidifier that I've had in the bedroom here in Michigan. The humidity got down to about 10-15% about a month ago when it was extremely cold, below zero. Of course, that type of weather, it sucks all the moisture out of the air. There's no room for moisture because the air is so dense and cold. And then you compound that with your house. You have furnace, and you're drying the air out even more. So when should you humidify and what should you use is always a question. And I hadn't worried a whole lot about it for the first few years. I had a laminate ukulele. This one over here, my Oscar Schmidt Spalted Mango. And if you live in Arizona, Nevada, Utah, someplace where the humidity is only going to get to 5 or 10% a lot of the time, you can go long stretches of the year with humidity that's that low. Even if you have a laminate in those environments, you probably want to do some sort of humidification. I didn't worry a whole lot about it. I've been checking with my hygrometer down here in the basement. 39-42%, which is a little low, but nothing to get too worried about. So you can see behind me all the ukuleles, and most of them are laminates, and so I haven't had to worry until 2 years ago, and I purchased my first solid wood ukulele, which is this one right here. This is the Kala solid cedar top with the acacia laminate sides and back. Slotted headstock, real pretty. Might be in tune, we'll see here. Has a very nice ring, sustain. If your ukulele does get too dry, besides potentially drying out the wood and having it crack and having to have it fixed, not always a very inexpensive endeavor. You'll notice that you might start getting a buzzing sound because the neck will start to hump up and cause the action to be lower than normal. Your fret ends will get sharp because the neck fretboard has shrunk the wood, and the ends will start to get sharp on you. So you might notice that the tone changes, the sustain, which this has great sustain, doesn't stay the same. So I started out getting an Oasis OH18 humidifier. And this is a ukulele humidifier. Looks like that. Well, it's not supposed to look like that. It's not supposed to look like Tom Brady's footballs, all deflated and deformed, and then it has a little clip on it that you clip in between the strings. and you use distilled water. You don't want to use just regular tap water or even drinking water in a bottle. It has minerals. They send a special little filler syringe. You fill it with distilled water, and then you wait until it gets, this is pretty empty, so I figured it would take one whole syringe, and now you can see the shape of it has regained shape. I probably could put a little more in there. I'm not going to do it now. This has little micro beads, water beads in it, about the size of a grain of rice. You want to be a little bit careful disconnecting this so that you don't accidentally squeeze out the beads. Some water squeezes out, pops out the top because you overfilled it. Just wipe it off. It won't hurt anything, as long as you don't put it in the ukulele like that. This would also be something that you might use for a laminate. Not super cheap, this particular one. This is a semi-permeable membrane, so it doesn't leak. And it slowly, through osmosis, releases the water vapor. And you separate the strings and you slide that in there. It has 2 slots, and then it fits right in there and hangs inside. And you check it probably about every 2 weeks, depending on how dry it is. I know when it was so dry, I was filling it every week. I could not keep up with the humidity. I was lucky if I could get the humidity up to 30%. Ukuleles and all other wood instruments should be kept at a constant 40 to 50%. Obviously there'll be days where it might drop lower than that or be higher than that. We'll talk about that in a little bit for all you Florida people and such. But anyway, that won't hurt. But on a consistent basis, you don't want it to get much below 30%. In fact, when I flew out to Arizona, the relative humidity was 5% all the time. It was 120 degrees when we were out there a year and a half ago. I was told by my music shop not even to take, it was brand new, don't even take that with me. I took my laminate. Laminates are more tolerable to humidity changes and temperature changes. They still can be affected, but if you don't humidify them and you have humidity in that 20 to 30% at least most of the time as a minimum, and if you go to 50 or 60%, it's not going to hurt them either. That's why laminates are, so easy to take care of. You don't have to worry about humidification for the most part. There are some exceptions. If you want to do it, you can. Now, like I said, that was kind of an expensive one, so I looked into a couple other ideas. One of my cohorts here in Michigan, Mark Swearhout, did a video, and I copied his idea. In fact, someone reminded me last week of it at the Ukulele Strum. And you buy these little, where'd they go? Here we go. Little water beads that you get for weddings. They come in a tube. They're about the size of a little seed. I know you really can't see that, but they're tiny little things. And then you put them in a container of some sort. I used a prescription bottle, drilled some real small holes. I think they're small enough so if the beads, again, deflate like Tom Brady, I know, probably shouldn't pick on all you Patriots fans, but anyways, you can see here that from a tiny little seed bead, they suck up a bunch of water, and probably about 10 times their original size. And you drill the holes in the side of the container. I drilled all the way around, tiny holes. And you can, Mark suggested putting a piece of cloth inside, nylon, to help prevent the beads from slipping out the holes when they shrunk back down to the original size. But I prefer to see the size of the water beads, and that way I know whether they need to be have water added to them. You would stick this in your case. You could use a smaller size container if this one was too big, but this would fit in definitely most baritone cases, tenor cases. And speaking of cases, the first one I showed you was a semi-rigid. It's not going to be real airtight. A lot of the humidity issues, you're only going to resolve them more completely as if you have it in a hard case that's sealed, more airtight. It's going to retain the moisture that's being released by this or by the other one. I also ordered one by Music Nomad. This is quite a popular one. They make an ukulele one, which is what I should have ordered. I thought because I have all baritones that are mine, even though I have tenors and others here behind me that belong to other family members. Comes with this interesting little special sponge and this container with instructions: touch to check, soft equals wet, hard equals re-wet. It's like, okay, I guess that's pretty straightforward. So it's harder than a rock. I'm not going to wet it right now, but again, you would get this wet with distilled water, squeeze out any excess, because again, to me, I worry about that other one and this one leaking. I don't worry about the Oasis humidifier leaking. And this slides in between the strings. The problem with it, even though I was thinking of baritone and I've been having so much trouble, I wanted the bigger size. It's too long. So the ukulele one that they sell by this company, again, that's Music Nomad, is shorter, so it should fit in about any size ukulele. So that would be okay. It has slots here on the side to let the moisture out. So that's another option. Then I had also heard about Diodario making a humidification system. And I thought, well, okay, what's this about? I heard about it about a year ago. And it sounded really cool. Not only does it release humidity, but this is where you forward to people in other places that have humidity 60, 70, 80%, which also is bad for wood. Can actually cause similar types of warping, bubbling up of the wood, because the wood is expanded from the humidity, has no place to go, so you can have bumps. You have problems with your bridge. Usually the bridge issue is when it's super dry, you could pull the bridge because the strings become more taut. So anyways, I checked into it, but then I heard about this other company called Boveda. And I thought, well, Boveda sounds like they have more options. They have 32, 49, 62, 65, 69, 72, 75, 84, and 95% relative humidity. Well, as I said, we want between 40 and 50%, pretty constant basis. And I thought, well, why are they making all these other humidity things for it, different percentages? Well, they use it in humidors. for cigars, and I guess they require a much higher humidity. So this was an 8-gram pack. I didn't know what size to order. I'd heard about them and I thought, okay. Well, I got these and threw in about, I think 2 or 3 of them. They weren't as, substantially large as I thought they would be, but thought they would do the job. Now, the reason they're wrapped in a paper towel is I've recharged these. They became harder than a rock because the humidity was so low that it sucked the moisture out of the pack. This was like solid as a rock. And now you can see it's all nice and squishy again. You take a paper towel, you wring it out really good so it's just barely damp. You wrap up the Boveda packs. In the small ones, I could do like 3 of them here with the paper towel. You leave them in a plastic bag sealed up nice and tight for about 3 to 4 days, and then when they come out, they're all fully recharged again, rather than all hard and crusty, which is the indication that they are no longer doing their job. The moisture's been sucked out of them. They don't leak, but don't crush them either. If you put them in your case, close the case. These would work probably good for soprano. These are 49%, 8 grams, and 3 of them probably would be sufficient for soprano concert, maybe 4 for a tenor. But when you get to the tenor size and the baritone size like I have, once I realized my mistake of ordering the wrong one, I found out that there was actually one made for guitars. And with the baritone being such a large instrument itself, I decided to order the one made for guitars. Makes sense. And I'm going to get my largest baritone here. This is the Pono Nui. This is my first all solid wood ukulele. I also have somewhere over here, it's in the case, the 8-string version of the cedar top, solid cedar top. So here's the Nui. Some of you have seen this. The Boveda packs, and I'll just show come with 4 packages, fairly substantial size, 60 grams to be exact, a piece, and this little holder, and you slip in the packages into this holder. May not be quite as easy to get back out, we'll see. And you slide it into the sound hole, usually on each side of the strings. Now this one's starting to get a little gel feeling, not so watery. And that's going to be normal because this is a new ukulele and it's in a wooden case where 75% of the case is wood. So it actually needs 3 of these big packets, and you can see the difference between this tiny little one that I ordered originally, the 8 gram, versus the 60 gram that is made for instruments, guitars and such. So I have 2 in this holder. Again, it goes on each side of the strings into the sound hole. That's where we really want to focus the moisture. But they also suggest, Boveda does, that you add a 3rd one to up by the headstock. Because again, you have something that's solid wood and we don't want those sharp fretboard ends. I was having some buzzing when I got the humidification up. over 40% on a regular basis. The tone of this and the buzzing went away. So I'm real happy with how the Boveda pack has worked, and I know that I was going to go through that first set of them. Again, 4 come to the set, and the carrying bag. That runs $25 to $30 on, you know, that big store online, depending on if you catch it on sale or not. My friend Daniel had told me about Diodario, and I had looked at Diodarios, to be honest, first, and I thought, well, what's the difference? There is none. Boveda makes the Diodarios. The only difference is that you get the kind of a felt-like case, kind of nice, real lightweight felt, and they have kind of a plasticky but permeable membrane on the inside to allow the osmosis to work and release the water vapor. And I haven't opened this, I just got this yesterday. They call theirs Humidifiers. And again, Boveda makes these. These are for 45 to 50%. And again, their holders, you get one double holder to go on each side of the strings, and then you get a single for the single pack, because you only get 3 here, where the Boveda you get 4. So that is the one difference. But this is about $10 cheaper. The Diodario Humidification System is about $17. They last 3 to 4 months once you get the first series taken care of and you get your case seasoned, so to speak, where the wood in the case. One important thing too, when you're not playing your ukulele and you have your case, make sure you close the case so that you're not trying to humidify the entire room. That'll ruin them real quick. So keep the case closed. This here is very nice for those people that are in Florida, I said, because if you live in an environment and it's 70 or 80, 90% humidity when it's sweltering in the summer, that's not good either. This is a two-way system, and so is the Boveda, where it will actually suck the moisture out of the case and prevent the ukulele from getting too high of a humidity, and again causing some of those problems I mentioned. So that is a very, very nice thing. The other ones, the Oasis, the Nomad, the homemade ones, those only release humidification. There's no way to really take the humidity out of the air. With the Boveda and the Diodario, it takes it out. And then I mentioned a hygrometer. I have this little case one by Oasis. Again, it's called a hygrometer, not a hydrometer. Hydrometers you would use if you were checking alcohol content if you're a home brewer. It's the density of the water. A hygrometer measures the water vapor. So the amount of, at a certain temperature, again at low temperatures the air cannot hold as much water vapor. At high temperatures, 70, 80 degrees, it can hold more water. But we want to keep it in that 40 to 50 range. And this is a nice little thing. Right now, here in the basement with the humidifier running, it's 55%. It just came out of the Nui case, it might have been slightly lower in there. It also tells you what the high was, which is 56%, and the low has been 43%. So you can see that by keeping this just sitting in the case, tucking it in a little spot, try to put it as close as you can to the sound hole, but you know, as long as it's in the case, I don't have any problems with it rattling around or anything like that. But this hygrometer by Oasis is a very, very nice thing to help keep track. If you keep your ukuleles out in the room all the time and you want to use a room vaporizer like I do down here now, and you have laminates that will help them, I can even keep my wood, solid wood ukuleles down here now. Our daughter was using this area. This is our recording area, and they moved here from Arizona, and this was their temporary home, and they've now moved out. Your kids never leave home sometimes, but you know, it happens. But it's nice to have our space back, and we're going to be getting everything set up. So another time I may give a little tour of our area. We have a stage piano, microphones. We have nice microphone condenser mics. We have soundboard and everything for recording. So all that had been put away for the last 8 months or so, but now we just got this back about a week ago, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to shoot a video here in this room. I hope if there's any other questions you have that you ask once I post this, and I'd be glad to answer them. There are other humidification systems out there. There's one called Damp It. I don't trust it. I guess I'm paranoid of one of these things leaking. The Oasis I'm not afraid of. The beads, I'd be nervous in a very nice ukulele. I would not put this in my Pono, but I put it in a laminate case. I mean, it's better than nothing, and you know, that way there's at least a little bit of humidification. So hopefully I've answered some questions on why it's important to humidify your ukuleles, and some different options that you might have to do that. I'm going to be using the Diodario and the Bovita from now on for all of my solid tops or my solid wood ukuleles, and I'll probably be using some other less expensive, maybe one of the homemade ones for any of the laminate ukuleles, especially if they're in a gig bag or a semi-rigid, and those bags aren't going to hold in the humidity very well because they're not airtight. But again, something's better than nothing. You don't want the braces, the glue holding the braces on to fall off because you didn't do anything. So if you want to be on the safe side, even with laminates, it's an option. I didn't ever worry about it a whole lot, but since I've kind of gotten into all these different humidification options, and it got so low this winter, I decided that even those needed some sort of protection from low humidity. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys another time with another subject.